Hi guys, and welcome to On the DL. It is episode Land's favourite number,
13.
Number 13. And today we are covering appetite suppressants. This is quite a controversial subject, as I find most young females dabble in this quite a bit. There are so many different ways to do it, healthy and non-healthy.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the most popular way is generally the fast and unhealthy way.
Yep.
Do you want to run us through just, a few different types of unhealthy appetite suppressants?
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll break them down into medicinal appetite suppressants and natural appetite suppressants to kind of just clarify that. Most medicinal appetite suppressants work directly on the brain. So they're working on the areas of the brain that actually control hunger and satiety, which means they have a very rapid effect and a very strong effect. So unlike most of the natural interventions, it's going to kick in quickly, it's going to do its job very, very quickly, but it's going to take kind of a harsh route to do that.
Yeah.
The issue with medicinal appetite suppressants is it's kind of a risk versus reward situation.
Yes.
In that there are so many side effects, potential side effects that can come along with them, and most people will get at least one or two of them. It's very unlikely that you will take a medicinal appetite suppressant and get away with absolutely no side effects.
Coming from someone who dabbled on these maybe 10 years ago, I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
It is, like you said, it's fast, it's efficient, but I definitely found the negatives outweighed the positives. It just wasn't worth it. Like, the side effects were insane, like you mentioned earlier, like dehydration.
Yes.
It's just kind of takes over everything that you can think of.
Well, the very, the basic list that comes along with it is fatigue, dehydration, changes to your blood pressure, insomnia, da-da-da-da. Yeah. So this is the likely side effects, and that's not even looking at the less likely side effects like psychosis and things that can come along with it. So I think the issue with medicinal appetite suppressants is, we were talking before and we were sort of agreeing and disagreeing on the fact that I'm glad that they have to be prescribed, because they should be difficult to get. You 100%. Should only be using them if it's absolutely necessary for you to be using them.
Yes.
And that's not to say that they shouldn't be used at all. It's just that there's a very small time and place for it. Whereas you were saying, but it's so easy to go in and just say, I want an appetite suppressant,
100%.
and they hand it over. And because you've had the experience and I haven't, I've never gone in and asked for an appetite suppressant, so I didn't realise how easy it is to convince a GP to just hand over a script.
I was desperate at the time. I was very young. I was 75 kilos.
So not
smaller
big.
than I am right now. Smaller than I am right now. And I literally went in and made up this story about how I was sad and depressed and that I felt in my body. Yeah. And he did not ask anything. He asked how much I weighed, and then I just pretty much gave him a sob story, and he handed it over. I was in there for 5 minutes.
Isn't it terrifying?
It's sad.
It's scary, the thought that people who are, not you specifically, but people who are uneducated could go in and ask for these things with absolutely no idea of the side effects of it. Like, someone like you had probably done at least a little bit of research into it beforehand.
Not much, but a little bit. Like, yep, this is what I want. This is going to make me happy.
Because that's the thing, we want the instantaneous result, particularly if you have failed prior. So if you've tried something else before and it hasn't worked for you, that need for something to happen quickly just grows and grows and grows. So we go from this patient person who knows that dietary interventions, good exercise routines, healthy sleep patterns are going to have the desired effect, but they're going to take 6 months to a year to work. If I can have that in 3 months by taking Duramine,
or on day one,
why not? Why not go that route? So I guess we can see the appeal. Yeah. We just want to point out all of the other factors.
The negatives of,
that should affect your decision.
You don't just take a pill and you're just not hungry, and you feel full of energy, you feel amazing, you get to sleep, you know, everything's normal, and you just rapidly lose weight. Unfortunately, it doesn't go like that.
That's it.
It gets worse and worse over time.
That's one side of it, and it can only last for a short period because most of these meds are addictive, right?
And then what happens?
That's exactly
what's
right.
What's your plan afterwards?
Once you remove that medicinal intervention, so when there's nothing acting on those hunger, satiety centers of the brain,
you just go ham.
Those decisions, you know, they become yours again.
Yeah.
And the problem is people go one of two ways. They either extremely restrict because now their association is I'm petite
Starvation.
and little and da-da-da-da if I starve myself, so I'm going to continue to starve myself, and that's when we get caffeine dependency and all of these other things, because something has to produce the energy, right?
You've got zero.
No food. Okay, let's go the caffeine. Or it goes the extreme other way, which is, okay, I don't have anything telling me when to stop eating now, so I'm going to eat absolutely everything. And then, of course, 3 months later, where are we?
Yeah.
GP's office again.
You need to get the weight back off.
That's
I guess
right.
Most of the people, and myself included, most of the people that go to that extreme aren't happy.
Absolutely.
Whether they're not happy in their skin or whether they're not happy in their, you know, life.
Yes.
It's you're definitely going to the doctor because it's an extreme. You just need to feel good right there and then. And then, obviously, like we were saying, as soon as that runs out, as soon as you feel terrible and you look great but you feel terrible, you come off. You're not any happier than you were 3 months prior.
It hasn't resolved the core issue. It's just put a Band-Aid over it.
Yeah. Terrible Band-Aid.
That's it. Exactly right. And one that you can only use a certain amount of times as well, right? Like, you can't... If you keep going back to it, the likelihood of side effects kicking up are more and more and more, and the likelihood of it working.
I guess when you take something long enough, eventually you're going to get used to it, and then what do you take?
And
start
your
double
habits
dosing?
Change anyway, right? Like, so if you start to develop a bad enough relationship with that cycle, you can eat when you're not hungry. It's not like you can't.
You don't even know what hunger or fullness feel like.
That's it. It's kind of just you're trying to fill a void that's not got anything to do with hunger or satiety. You're trying to fill a void that might be emotional,
mental,
that you cannot fill in any other way. So of course. The meds can't do anything because they're solving the wrong problem. That brings me to something actually we haven't spoken about, but it was something that I've discovered over the last couple of years. A lot of the meds that are now used as appetite suppressants weren't designed as appetite suppressants. They are used as appetite suppressants. We were talking about
that,
because that's a side effect, and it's a useful side effect. And so they'll start using it for that, which... I mean, there's pros and cons to that as well, in that some of them are antidepressants that have an appetite suppressant effect, which I guess...
Well, there are drugs that go the other way as well.
Absolutely.
Like, incredibly the other way.
Ramp up that.
I had a client, he went on some medication and the doctor didn't tell him that it would be such a rapid change. And he's like, nothing fills me.
Absolutely. Corticosteroids have got to be the worst, you know, for that. They've got to be one of the worst for that. And they're so commonly prescribed.
Yes.
You know, so it's, if you're an asthmatic...
I'm fucking hungry.
Here you go. And then the problem just builds and builds and builds, because
so it can go both ways.
That's it. Because we're just not, either way, you're not resolving the main issue, right? So when we look into medicinal appetite suppressants, we really need to think about whether or not we're willing to take on all of those potential side effects, physiological and psychological, to come out of it knowing that we're probably not going to be able to maintain it.
It's like, what's the why? Like, is the why enough to, for the side effects?
Do all of these things.
And probably do this 5 or 6 times before you realise that it's not the answer.
Exactly right. So instead of us just telling you don't do it, we're going to present you some options outside of that. So there are not just medicinal.
No.
Accidental.
There's accidental.
Right? Like, there's heaps of things that you can do that will help to curb your appetite, and that are probably more targeted to you and what's causing your appetite to be irregular in the first place, right?
I guess I just thought of this, the controversial side of it is, you know, say for instance, like bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know, we have a goal, you know, we need to look this certain way, we need to drop this amount of weight. And, you know, as easy as we try and make a deficit, there's only so long before it gets really hard. Really hard. You know, I know you've had a little bit of, you know, your experience with bodybuilding is a little bit better than mine. You know, have you found that people do choose to abuse those a little bit more?
It's huge in the bodybuilding community, but I guess there are a lot of drugs that are huge in the bodybuilding community that can have both effects.
Yep.
So with my particular the vast majority of my clients that I prep for bodybuilding shows were in tested federations.
Yep. Okay.
So they wouldn't have been able to take anything anyway.
Yep.
Anything that was seen as a performance-enhancing drug would have been tested for, so they had no shot.
Okay.
I did prep a few for non-tested federations.
Yep.
In those circumstances, if I'm honest, there were other drugs that were being used that negated the need for specific appetite suppressants. But you can definitely see the appeal of it because a lot of the appetite suppressants also boost your metabolism temporarily. They don't do it long term, but they will do it temporarily.
12 weeks.
So if you can do that, exactly right, or even 4-6 weeks, you know, when you're at the really hard yards towards the end
calories
of the
are low.
And you want to, you know, you want to reduce that hunger so that you reduce that temptation because it's pretty big.
I guess that would be in different circumstances. You know, there's obviously people who, you know, you've got someone who has real issues with their body image, and then on the other side you've got people who are athletes who know they're only doing it to make this section of it easier.
True, but you know what? Body dysmorphic disorder is massive in bodybuilding, and I think as much as we try and make it about the sport, a lot of the time it's not.
I mean, I mean, how can it not be? You know, your sport is literally what you look like,
and it's subjective, which is really screwy. Like if the lineup is. This is a bit of a weird topic because most people have no idea what I'm talking about. But depending on who steps up in the lineup, the judging will change. So if the entire lineup is incredibly conditioned but doesn't have a lot of size, then the conditioned athletes are more likely to win. Vice versa. So it's kind of even though there's a criteria that you're aiming for, it depends who shows up on the day as to how the judging goes down. So it's an incredibly subjective sport that is purely about visuals, which means that even when you are doing what you should be doing, you still may not step up on stage and be the best of the day.
I think it's really good to kind of know that even bodybuilders, even really conditioned, beautiful people who look perfect, still have those issues as well. Everyone does, you know, to some level. Some people choose to work through them, some people choose to take an appetite suppressant and see how it goes.
Absolutely, or try and ignore it and cover it up with those sorts of interventions. Exactly right. It's really interesting because it's not going away anytime soon, right? The more quick fixes or the more things that we can offer that will help you to get from A to B faster, easier, the more people are going to buy it, and the more is going to be produced because more companies will put more money into it. But look, you know, there are ways of going about this naturally that will help short term and long term. They are not as quick.
They're not as quick. I mean, you know, caffeine,
you know,
definitely. Water
and fiber are probably the number one, right?
Probably the safest. I mean, you can have too much fiber.
You can. Everyone varies. So most people can have it somewhere between 25 and 70 grams of fibre a day and be completely fine.
70.
Some people, not so much.
I think my limit's about 35.
Yours is really quite low.
I
think since your water intake went up, your tolerance got better, but still it wouldn't go past like 40.
No.
But what it comes down to is like, all right, so increasing your fibre intake regularly across the day and increasing your water intake makes you feel fuller by creating tension. You know, it literally bulks up.
It literally fills you up.
It literally fills you. It slows your emptying. It does all of these things that help you feel fuller for longer.
Suppressant. Yeah.
Exactly right, but a healthy one.
Yeah.
One that's only going to do positive things for you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Then next to that, protein. Protein is an appetite suppressant in itself. Win-win. Have your protein regularly throughout the day.
Spread it out.
And you will feel more satiated.
Yeah.
Eating things like carbohydrates, particularly shorter chain carbohydrates, sugary type foods.
Yeah.
You're going to get a quick buzz, but it's going to be gone real quick and it's going to empty really quickly.
Tie it to things to slow it down.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you have the protein with it, all of a sudden you get that satiated response.
Yeah, that's why I think. Well, that's why if you go from if you do it as simply as calories.
Yeah.
If you kind of eat the foods that you want and low fiber, they taste amazing.
Yeah.
But you're going to be searching for it faster. Whereas obviously, if you eat more, more fiber, more water, make sure you're getting the protein, all your good stuff. Like you're obviously going to be less hungry, so the dieting phase is going to be so much easier.
And not only all of that, plus with that increased protein, you're going to get increased serotonin production in your body, which is going to make you feel happier, which is going to make you go to food less. There's all of these secondary positives. Like, we were talking about the medicinal appetite suppressants and how they have 1 or 2 pros for 10 cons.
Yes.
This is the other way around, guys.
Natural, it's no cons.
No cons and about 100 pros, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know this is a good choice for you, right?
Yeah.
This is always going to be a good choice. Then we've got simple things like sleep.
If they could bottle it up, like you could just sell it for millions.
That I would pay so much money for. But it really does. It works. So it helps to improve the ghrelin and leptin balance in your body.
Yeah.
So good quality sleep will reduce your ghrelin production, which reduces hunger, and increase your leptin response, which increases satiety.
Yeah.
Win.
Improves your stress response and how you deal with stuff. So then you're not super heightened and super stressed, looking for things to make you feel better.
That's exactly
not looking for
right.
caffeine, which can also heighten you as well. Like it's
And this is where we talk about that psychological, physiological, right? So the physiological response is one thing, and it's fantastic that we have an improved physiological response, but the psychological response has the power to undo that.
Yeah.
If
so quick.
If you don't do something about it.
If you don't,
That's it.
Yeah.
So like there's all of these natural options out there that we just don't even consider because it's so easy to ask for a script.
Sleep is nothing, Sleep is, it's something we do every day. How can that make a difference in my life? Water, it's free. Water's free. Why should I take advantage of it? Like it's the free supplements that are so easy to implement every single day that can help your composition rather than trying to take a drug that's going to make you feel like shit. And you're not going to stick to it
and
at all.
And it's going to create as many problems as it solves in the end, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got, there's lots of other little things that you can do day to day. Satiety is partly created by enjoyment of food.
Yeah.
So if you're eating boring food day to day, very minimal flavors, you're not going to enjoy it, so you're not going to feel satiated. There's hundreds of studies that show that foods with more flavour will satiate you faster. Foods with a nicer aroma will satiate you faster. And it's because of that enjoyment factor partially, but it's also because the taste receptors are getting all of this information saying all of these flavours. So add things like cayenne pepper, add things like ginger that also have beneficial effects on digestion and so on and so forth. They've got all of these positives and then they also increase that flavour, which increases the satiety.
That's what I tell my clients a lot of this. I'm like, food is art. Food is an art form. You can make a masterpiece, or you can make like if we allocate an hour to prep our food for the week, and you make chicken, potato and broccoli. It's really fast, really simple, and you're done in half an hour. But you're not going to fucking want to eat that.
No.
You're not. Because it's not...
By day 3, you want to throw it out.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell them, like, sit down, enjoy your food. If you don't enjoy your food and you're not excited to eat it... Change it. Like, put the effort in to make it a little bit more exciting, because food should be exciting,
and it doesn't have to be complicated either. Adding a little, bit
of herbs, bit of sauce,
herbs, spices, good quality sauces that aren't packed full of fillers and Put them in there.
Yeah.
Passata. passata has got to be one of the best
meal.
things ever. Like, come on. It just
so
goes
much.
with everything.
It does.
And it's so low cal.
Yeah.
Makes you feel nice and full and brings so much flavour.
Yeah.
It's such a, these things are so useful. Then on top of that, keeping your body healthy is almost its own appetite suppressant. One, because you learn to respond to hunger and appetite cues differently, because we've all walked past the bakery and gotten hungry because you smell the bread, right?
I see it, I want it.
You're not hungry, you have an appetite. You're driven to eat that because it looks good, it smells good, and you've had it before and you know it's going to feel amazing going, right?
It's bread.
So you have that association with it, but you're not actually hungry. Learning to read those cues better is easier when you're healthier, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because you're having less blood sugar fluctuations, you're having less outside things coming in and causing confusion.
Yeah.
Women, a lot of the time, so during the menstrual cycle, estrogen on its own acts as an appetite suppressant, right?
Yeah.
So you'll generally notice that once you start your period, your appetite starts to decrease and it stays relatively low for a couple of weeks before we ovulate, and then we're screwed for 2 weeks because we want to eat everything in the house.
Which is normal though.
Completely normal, and that's because of the function of progesterone increasing, and even though the estrogen is still relatively high, the progesterone acts as an appetite stimulant, whereas this poor little estrogen can't do its job anymore as an appetite suppressant. But having a healthy balance of your hormones will reduce those fluctuations and make it less of an issue. So if we focus on general health and well-being, we have less of these issues. We're better equipped to handle the psychological side of it when it does happen. And we are going to be building a better metabolism overall, so we're not having to starve ourselves.
No, and then we don't go to the doctor for a prescription that we don't need.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I think, what do you reckon are the 1, 2, 3 of today? 1, appetite suppressants, medicinal appetite suppressants.
Definitely do your research and really think about the why. Is it worth the ramifications that it's going to bring? If it is, make that decision and make that call and be okay with it.
Yeah, and have a plan for afterwards.
Yeah, because there is going to be an afterwards.
Yeah.
There has to be. And
Absolutely.
definitely, number 2, definitely putting more effort into your food. Like if you're so obsessed with it, try put some effort into it. Try and make it taste nice. That so you're actually enjoying your food and you're not looking for something that's yummier. Something that's maybe higher fat and higher carbohydrates and low protein.
You're saying create the experience, right? Like create the enjoyable experience. That's it.
Yeah.
And what's our number 3 for today?
Number 3.
We got 1 and 2 so easy. 1 and 2 is so easy.
Oh my God.
Let's go with sleep. Sleep's always a good one.
Sleep and water.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Focus on your sleep, guys. You will be so grateful to yourself if you can manage to get a good sleep routine.
Think about why you feel the way you feel. Think about, are you really bad at stress management? Are you protecting yourself? Like what's going on? What are the issues and how can you fix it rather than looking for medication?
Absolutely. Yep, I reckon that's the best way to end it.
Done.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.